My roommate Wang Hui and I are bound by a balance swap system, where if the balance in my card exceeds hers, it automatically gets swapped with her balance. In my previous life, my family was too poor to afford the money for my college education. I had to work 3 part-time jobs simultaneously just to earn enough for a whole semester's expenses. Just when I thought I had finally saved up 6,000 yuan for tuition, but was reminded by the teacher at the payment office that the balance was insufficient, and the tuition fee deduction failed, I went to the bank to check my account and reported it to the police, but I was treated as a fraud, because every transaction on my bank card spending statement was very clear. But this was definitely not something a poor student like me, who works 3 jobs a day and usually lives frugally, would have spent. I called my parents back home and sobbed to them, but to my surprise, they didn't believe me either. Li Qiao, did you spend the tuition money extravagantly? If you didn't use that money, how could there be any consumption records? You're actually lying to us. When I told my roommates about it, not only did they not believe me, but they also accused me. You're a student from a poor family, and you're spending 38 yuan on a cup of milk tea. Are you out of your mind? My parents give me an extra 500 yuan a month for snacks, and even I can't bring myself to buy something that expensive. Yeah, instead of working hard at your part-time job, you go off to sing at KTV. Another roommate pointed at a charge on the bill. Furious, I posted everything on Weibo, and everyone accused me of being an attention-seeking account farmer. Only one anonymous netizen reminded me to check if my card had been cloned or stolen, and to see if anyone around me had suddenly started spending lavishly. I observed quietly for a long time and noticed that my roommate Wang Hui had been buying a lot of things recently. When I confronted Wang Hui, she accused me of having paranoia and conspired with classmates and teachers to isolate me. Later, when I fell ill and had no money, I was deceived into going to a black clinic where they harvested my organs, and I died with my eyes open. When I opened my eyes again, I had somehow returned to the day before I was supposed to pay my tuition. Realizing that I, too, had been reborn like a character in a novel, I quickly opened my mobile banking app to check my balance. To my surprise, there were only 21 yuan left in the card. By this time, my money had already been transferred to Wang Hui's card using some method. I really want to beat Wang Hui up, preferably to death, to end it all once and for all. But remembering my parents from my previous life, who were so devastated by my loss that they took their own lives, I dismissed such extreme thoughts. I can't just sit back and wait like I did in my previous life, so I plan to lie low for now. Just then, my roommate Zhang Wenqin asked me, "Why haven't you gone to work yet? You usually leave by this time." I explained that I had been too tired lately and had already earned enough for my tuition, so I wanted to take a good rest. As I said this, I climbed down from the bed, ran to the corner of the hallway, and called the bosses of my 3 part-time jobs, lying that I was sick and needed a week off, since I was usually capable and hardworking. All 3 bosses were very kind to me and would never have imagined that I would lie just to slack off. I walked back to the dorm with a sense of guilt in my heart. Before I even reached it, I heard Wang Hui shouting at the top of her lungs, "Just like in my previous life, I won 6,000 yuan from a lottery ticket," she announced. "I'll treat all of you to a meal." Hearing this, it dawned on me, in my previous life, she had used my tuition money to boost her own image like this. In my previous life, I had foolishly refused because I needed to go to work, so I immediately responded, "What great luck I have, to have a day off and someone treating us to dinner." Wang Hui, seeing me return from outside, asked in surprise, "Aren't you usually working part-time? Why aren't you going today?" "I'm tired, taking a break. Not only am I not going today, but I might not go in the future either." Upon hearing my words, Wang Hui's eyes flickered. I pretended not to notice and continued to chat with them. "Where are you planning to eat? It's such a pity that after living in the same dorm for 2 years, I've never joined such a gathering." Jingyu glanced at me and said, "You only realize it's a pity now. I didn't know how to get along with you these past 2 years. All you did was work, and I was afraid to talk to you, fearing it would delay you from making money." Hearing this, I remembered that after the incident in my previous life, Jingyu was the only one who didn't blame me. I smiled and explained apologetically, "My family's financial situation is tough, and they can't afford to support my education, yet I'm not willing to settle for a normal teacher's college or a technical school, so I have to work part-time while studying." The other students in the dormitory fell silent upon hearing this. Jingyu came over and patted my shoulder in consolation. I smiled gratefully at her. Lu Tsong walked in at that moment, tossing her books onto her desk and asking, "Then why didn't you apply for the financial aid for needy students?" I thought you just didn't like hanging out with us. I did apply during my freshman year, and I passed the initial review. I don't know why it was cancelled later." After hearing my words, everyone seemed to recall something and turned to look at Wang Hui. I also stared at her as she nervously explained, "I didn't know she needed it. The counselor specifically gave it to me back then." As she spoke, she dumped all the items she bought onto the table. At a glance, they were all luxury makeup brands that we couldn't normally afford. All right. Let's not talk about that anymore. As usual, how about I treat everyone to a meal at the school gate today? We can go for the 3-sauce casserole." Wang Hui changed the subject. The 3-sauce casserole, such a familiar name. That's right, in my previous life, there was also this restaurant in my bill. Zhang Wenqin immediately expressed dissatisfaction. "You won 6,000 yuan. And you're only treating us to a 200 yuan stew pot. That's not appropriate, is it? Besides, with Li Qiao joining us today, it definitely won't be enough. Let's change it." Exactly. How about you treat us to Haidaleo instead?" "Haidaleo? How much would it cost for the 6 of us in our dorm?" Wang Hui exclaimed in surprise. "Oh, it's not that much. Haidaleo has a lot of free snacks, and none of us are particularly big eaters. Don't worry, we won't bankrupt you." Hearing this, Wang Hui paused, as if making an important decision, and agreed to us in one go. "All right, that's settled." We 6 of us headed to the Haidaleo in the city center. We were quickly led to our table by a server, and after everyone was seated, we all started looking at the menu, taking turns to order dishes. Except for Wang Hui, everyone else seemed to have agreed beforehand, quietly ordering a lot of meat. When the dishes arrived, we started eating heartily. During the meal, everyone encouraged Wang Hui to order a few more plates of seafood and drinks. After eating and drinking to our heart's content, everyone was so full that they sat happily in their seats, laughing. Only Wang Hui seemed distracted, constantly staring at the bill for the meal. I quietly waited to observe what would happen next. Sure enough, this meal cost Wang Hui 1,631 yuan. She paid the bill with a reluctant expression, and everyone tactfully pretended not to notice her demeanor. Suddenly, I felt my phone vibrate. I stopped in my tracks, took out my phone, and saw a notification on the screen. "Your agricultural bank account has received 1,631 yuan. I was so excited I almost shouted out loud. So that's how it works. I managed to control my expression and suppressed the excitement in my heart as I quickly caught up with the others. I observed Wang Hui discreetly. She was still immersed in the aftermath of being scammed and didn't notice anything unusual. Seeing her behavior, I was afraid that I might have misjudged the situation and decided to observe further. That night, we returned to the dormitory, tidied up, and soon fell asleep. Suddenly, I was startled awake by a series of phone vibrations. I burrowed under the covers and opened my phone, seeing a string of incoming transaction notifications. "Your ABC account has received 27.8 RMB. Your ABC account has received 32.7 RMB. Your ABC bank account has received 15.9 yuan. Your ABC bank account has received 9.9 yuan. Your ABC bank account has received 157.8 yuan. I was so excited that I almost jumped up. "Now, my account has been restored to 1875, 1 yuan. I turned off my screen, slipped out of the blanket, and quietly turned my head to look at Wang Hui, who was sleeping diagonally across from me. Her phone screen was still on, which meant she must have been online shopping again. I had a rough idea of the pattern Wang Hui followed to transfer money from my card. Whenever I worked and earned money, it would eventually end up in Wang Hui's account. As long as I lay low, enjoy food, drink, and entertainment, the money she spends will return to my account in the same amount. What is this? So good. It spares me the hardship of working and even gives me money to spend. In my previous life, I didn't even know about it. How utterly foolish I was. Thinking about this, I happily smiled. Tomorrow, there will be a significant deposit when I pay the tuition. I just need to delay paying the tuition a bit. So, I peacefully fell asleep again. The next morning, everyone planned to go pay the tuition together and asked if I wanted to join. I declined, telling them I had something to do and would go pay it myself later. Upon hearing this, Wang Hui looked at me and smiled with an unclear meaning. I pretended not to understand and smiled back at her, who knew that when she saw my appearance, she laughed even louder, her eyes looking at me as if I were a fool. I wonder if she'll still be able to laugh when she later discovers that the money in the card has decreased. After they left, I put on a hat and mask and quietly followed behind them. I kept a distance where I wouldn't be discovered, and only dared to approach after they entered the payment office, hiding behind the door to listen. Teacher, we're here to pay the tuition. Zhang Wenqin's voice rang out. All right, place your bank card inside your student ID and hand them both to me. Immediately after, the continuous sound of the POS machine notifying successful payments echoed from within. A total of 5 notifications were heard, indicating that Wang Hui had also successfully paid her tuition. This proved that her card contained not only my 6,000 yuan but possibly even more, so I didn't linger and quickly turned to go up the stairs, hiding in the corner. A moment later, a text message arrived confirming the transfer of 6,000 yuan. I waited until their footsteps faded before coming down from upstairs. I hurried to pay the tuition fee to avoid any further complications. After paying the fees and receiving the receipt, a huge weight seemed to be lifted off my heart, and I felt much lighter instantly. Seeing the remaining 1,800 yuan in my card, I was once again caught in a dilemma. If I spend it, I don't know if there will be any more in the future. If I don't spend it, what if I go back to Wang Hui's place one day, and now I've stopped my part-time job? So I ran to the cafeteria and quickly topped up 1,000 yuan onto my meal card, calculating at 200 yuan per month for food expenses. I wouldn't have to worry about going hungry until the end of this semester. With the remaining 800 yuan or so, I followed Wang Hui's example and placed an order online. I bought a bunch of daily necessities: sanitary pads, tissue paper, toilet paper, shampoo, body wash, you name it, I got it. There were still over 300 yuan left in the card, which I would use for emergencies for now. Who knew that every day after that, money still kept coming into my card? While I was happy, I also felt a bit worried at the moment. I still didn't know what this thing was or how it was transferring money into my card out of thin air. I also don't know if there will be any backlash in the future, so I didn't spend any of the money I earned again carelessly. For me, there's something even better about the current situation, which is that I can finally sit quietly in the library and read, no longer need to worry about whether there's enough money or how to handle the next tuition payment. Finally understood why everyone wants to be rich. 7 days passed like this, and the deadline for my leave from the 3 bosses was approaching. I brought food back to the dorm from the cafeteria, preparing to think about whether to quit my job outright or continue finding excuses to take leave. As soon as I entered the room, I saw Wang Hui crying. Seeing me come in, she quickly wiped away her tears, as if she didn't want me to see. I didn't say anything either, just returned to my seat and ate while looking at my phone. I could sense Wang Hui hesitating beside me, wanting to talk to me. I continued eating. Finally, she couldn't hold it in anymore and cautiously asked me, Li Qiao, are you really not going to work anymore? Didn't you say that without working, you wouldn't have money to pay your tuition? It seems she has noticed. There's no way around it. I fell while moving things last time and sprained my hand and leg. Although it doesn't affect my daily life, I can't work for now. What about your tuition then? She asked urgently. I haven't saved enough yet, but there's no other choice. I can only focus on recovering from my injuries first. Hearing me say this, Wang Hui became even more anxious. If you don't work, how will you manage your life? Just sitting around and waiting for your savings to run out? You have to go back to work quickly, and you can't skip paying your tuition. You'll get expelled. I thought to myself, who are you trying to scare? So I replied, don't worry. I went to the billing office the day before yesterday and asked, because of my special circumstances, I can pay the tuition fee a bit later. If it really doesn't work out, I'll apply for a student loan or financial aid for needy students. That won't do. Wang Hui suddenly raised her voice, then quickly explained after realizing it was inappropriate. How can you feel at ease using money that comes without hard work? You're so capable of enduring hardship. You definitely shouldn't use that kind of money. Money should be earned through work to feel secure when spending it. She blinked and leaned closer to me, continuing, besides, student loans have to be repaid, and I heard the interest rates are really high. You absolutely must not apply for one. Pretending to be friendly, she put her arm around my shoulder and said, if it really doesn't work out, I can also help you find a part-time job to make things a bit easier for you. Her eyes darted around as she spoke to me, and I couldn't help but wonder what little scheme she was plotting in her mind. However, from her words, I received another piece of information. This thing she has that can transfer my money can't transfer money I passively receive. It can only transfer money I earn through my own labor. No wonder she kept urging me to go work, so I deliberately put on a wronged expression and said to her, I was also forced into a corner, which is why I thought of a student loan. I know the interest is high, but I can't just wait to be expelled, can I? Wang Hui didn't want to push me too hard, lest she scare the snake, so she said, all right, then I'll also help you find some easier part-time jobs recently. That's great, thank you. If you help Me find a part-time job, I'll treat you to a meal, I said happily. Little did I know, the next day she gave me a huge surprise. She actually took me to the entrance of a notorious foot massage parlor in the city center. Pointing inside, she said, "They're short-handed here, the pay is great, and it doesn't take much effort." Then she pushed me hard to go inside. I struggled and clung tightly to the wall, refusing to move forward any further. I turned back and glared at her. "What do you want?" "I'm not going." Suddenly, I felt someone pulling me from the front. I turned my head and saw an old woman with heavy makeup pulling me forcefully inside. Seeing this, I became even more frightened. Wang Hui seemed to have spotted a lifeline and pushed me even harder. "Just go in quietly. This part-time job is easy. You can make money just by lying in bed." "I won't go, Wang Hui. What you're doing is illegal. Let go of me." I shouted at her anxiously. "You have to go in today, or I'll starve to death." Perhaps out of nervousness, Wang Hui nearly blurted out the truth. "Aren't you afraid I'll call the police? You're nothing but scum," I shouted. Suddenly, I felt a heavy blow to my head. Thinking the situation was still unclear, I decided to feign unconsciousness to make her pay. I covered my head and slowly collapsed to the ground. Wang Hui and the older woman burst out laughing upon seeing this. "This little girl has quite a strong grip. If I hadn't come, this might have fallen through." "Exactly. Thank you so much, I'll treat you to a meal after this is done." Suddenly, I was lifted by them and carried inside. After many twists and turns, I was placed on a bed in a room. "Hurry up and invite the guest over to get things done before she wakes up. I'll change her clothes and do her makeup," Wang Hui said with practiced ease. "All right, wait a moment while I go get the clothes." "Hurry up, Sister Lu. Pick something a bit more revealing." Originally, this old woman was surnamed Lu, and after a while, the woman came to deliver clothes and then left. Taking advantage of the moment when Wang Hui turned around to get something, I grabbed a wooden stick and knocked her out hard, just in case. I pinched her hard a few times. Seeing that she hadn't woken up, I finally felt relieved and locked the door. I calmly changed her clothes and applied her makeup. To avoid giving anything away, I deliberately positioned her lying face down. Once everything was ready, I pressed my ear against the door to listen for any sounds, but there was none. I immediately opened the door and scurried out, weaving through 3 corridors. Suddenly, a man's voice and that of Sister Lu came through. "Don't worry, boss, the goods today are top-notch, fresh, you'll be satisfied." Good, I love it fresh. Take good care of me, and you won't be short on rewards." How despicable. The voice was getting closer, so I quickly slipped into an empty room nearby and hid in the darkness, waiting for them to pass. I hurriedly ran outside and finally rushed out the main door. The farther I ran, the more I looked back a few times, and seeing no one chasing me, I finally felt relieved and stopped. Looking up at the sun in the sky, I marvel at the beauty outside, and so, I set off alone on my way back to school. On the bus, I kept thinking about Wang Hui, wondering what kind of ordeal she would face later. Back at school, to celebrate my narrow escape, I indulged in a lavish meal of 3-sauce stew that I usually couldn't bear to splurge on, and even ordered a cup of milk tea, which left me so full I kept burping. Back in the dorm, everyone was there except for Wang Hui and me. They all looked at me and asked what had happened, saying I looked like a complete mess. I glanced down and saw my clothes and pants were wrinkled, with dust in some spots. I awkwardly laughed and explained that I had just been playing in the park and accidentally fell off the swing. About Wang Hui taking me to the foot massage parlor, I didn't say a single word. Wang Hui didn't come back all night. Early the next morning, when everyone was grabbing their books to head to class, Wang Hui walked in, her face ashen and terrifying, with bruises and marks all over her neck. Seeing me standing before her completely unharmed, she burst into tears. Everyone stopped what they were doing and immediately showed concern for her. "What's wrong? Why didn't you come back last night? And now you're crying as soon as you return. Did someone bully you? Speak up, don't just cry, tell us so we can help you." Perhaps feeling that she couldn't reveal the truth, she immediately stopped crying. Wiping away her tears, she said, "It's nothing, I just lost a few $100s playing games overnight at the internet cafe last night." "Oh, I thought it was something big." "It's nothing, just a few hundred, you have plenty." "Exactly, let's go quickly, we have class to attend." The other students in the dormitory urged Wang Hui, "Forget it, I'm not going today, I'm a bit tired." "Remember to sign my name for attendance," Wang Hui said. "All right, then you rest in the dormitory, we're leaving." Then I followed everyone out, and Wang Hui suddenly grabbed my sleeve, intentionally speaking loudly, "Li Qiao, I'm out of sanitary pads, lend me 2." seeing that the others had left, she quickly locked the door and glared at me, saying, "Li Qiao, are you crazy? Why did you knock me out yesterday?" As she spoke, her tears started flowing again, and she sobbed loudly, "You didn't knock me out, and you dare to question me? You're the one who's crazy," I said, ready to leave, but she blocked my way, not letting me go. "Why didn't you take me away yesterday? Do you know what they did to me?" she said, crying even louder. "I don't know, and I don't want to know. All I know is, those who do evil will eventually destroy themselves. You bastard, they raped me, you've ruined me. Stop trying to shift the blame here. If you hadn't taken me to that kind of place with bad intentions, would any of this have happened? Get out of my way. I need to go to class. I'm warning you, if you dare say a word about what happened yesterday, I'll make your life a living hell." Wang Hui shouted at me, "You'd better watch your own foul mouth, since you're the biggest gossip in the dorm." With that, I pulled open the door and walked out. In class today, my account still received many small deposits. There was also a transaction at a pharmacy near the school. Seeing this, I happily visited the 3 part-time shops I worked at. I explained to the bosses that I was still unwell and the doctor had advised me to rest. In the evening, I studied in the library until it closed before returning to the dormitory. Recently, the changes in my life have had a positive impact on me. Many classmates I met in the hallway said that I've been looking better lately and seem more energetic. I humbly agreed and returned to the dormitory with a smile. The dormitory was quiet, with no lights on. Everyone was at their own desks, working under their desk lamps. Wang Hui lay motionless on the bed. After quickly finishing my bathroom routine, I climbed up to my bunk, but I always felt like someone was watching me from diagonally above. I deliberately ignored this feeling and soon fell into a deep sleep. Since the incident at the foot washing parlor, Wang Hui had been quiet for a while. I was also on guard against her everywhere, making sure never to be alone outside. Thus, I enjoyed a period of peaceful life. However, a month later, a retching sound from the bathroom shattered this peace. Hearing the sound of retching, the 5 of us exchanged glances. Zhang Wenqin peeked toward the bathroom. "Wang Hui, are you okay? Did you eat something bad? Do you need anti-nausea medicine?" "I'm fine, maybe I caught a chill yesterday, and I'm feeling a bit nauseous and having diarrhea." "Oh, as long as you're fine, just let me know if you need anything," Zhang Wenqin added. Everyone exchanged knowing glances and refrained from further conversation. I wonder if everyone else is thinking the same thing as I am. Originally, I thought Wang Hui wouldn't have any more schemes against me. I didn't expect that the next day, while the dorm was empty, she moved a stool and sat close to me. "Li Qiao, you've been resting for a long time, aren't you going to work yet?" "Well, I went to the school clinic for a checkup that day, and I haven't fully recovered yet. Besides, I've already quit my previous part-time job," I replied calmly. "You haven't paid your tuition yet, right? Aren't you worried? Aren't you afraid of being expelled?" I have already explained my actual situation to the counselor and the head of the finance department, and I can temporarily postpone paying the tuition. I continued, "I will make up the payment once the financial aid for low-income students and last semester's scholarship are dispersed." "I'm really curious, Wang Hui, when did you start caring so much about me?" I turned my chair to face her. "What exactly do you gain from me taking on part-time jobs? Since there's no one else in the dorm today, let's just clear everything up at once." Wang Hui sat up straight, placed her hands on my shoulders, and said, "I just can't bear to see a hard-working and diligent student like you continue to go down this path of decline." I didn't miss the flicker of panic in her eyes as she spoke. "And now that you're just lying around like this, what about your parents? Even if you don't think about yourself, you should think about them. If you don't go work, how much land will they have to farm just to earn back that money? Listen to me, hurry up and go." She winked at me as she spoke. I shook my head at her and ignored her. She stood there awkwardly in silence for a moment, then reached out her hand. "Lend me your ID card. I lost mine and can't go to the hospital to see a doctor." "No, you don't need an ID to see a doctor at the campus clinic. If you lose your ID, you can use your student ID to go to the hospital." Upon hearing my response, she suddenly jumped up as if her tail had been stepped on, pointing at me and saying, "Li Qiao, how can you be so heartless? What's the big deal about borrowing your ID? Do you think I'm going to lose it?" "No, because you might use my ID for shady things, or even take out a loan with it." I put down the book in my hand and stared at her. At that, she completely panicked. "Fine, don't lend it then. Why make so many excuses?" She picked up her bag and left, and seeing her go, I quickly found all my documents, packed them in plastic bags, and hid them in the hidden compartment of the wardrobe. What she didn't know was that I had figured out her intentions so quickly because, while she was sitting quietly beside me earlier, I heard an electronic voice instructing her to borrow my ID to take out a loan. This thing might be what transferred my money to her card in my previous life. After this incident, Wang Hui stopped pestering me and began secretly borrowing IDs from other classmates. All the female classmates in the class had been borrowed from by her. No one was willing to lend her such an important document as their ID card for no reason. Later, she even set her sights on students from other departments. Soon, rumors spread across the campus that she was desperately short of money. One moment lying about being sick and needing hospitalization, the next lying about a family member being ill and requiring hospitalization, constantly borrowing money or ID cards. Eventually, the matter finally reached the ears of the department leadership. The leader called the counselor over and gave him a scolding, saying he wasn't familiar with the students' situations and hadn't done his job properly. So our entire department held a meeting because of Wang Hui, with the theme that important documents like ID cards must not be lent out, and borrowing money from classmates is strictly forbidden. After this incident, everyone now intentionally or unintentionally avoids Wang Hui. But she has a great attitude, still wandering around every day as if nothing happened. But why is she short of money? Logically, she should have received some money from the incident at the foot massage parlor, and her parents would also give her money. Why is she so short of money? The answer came quickly. That night, Wang Hui went into the bathroom with a tissue and didn't come out for a long time. Suddenly, we heard a sharp scream of, "Ah!" followed by the sound of a heavy object falling. We quickly opened the bathroom door, only to see Wang Hui already unconscious, with blood continuously flowing from her lower body. We were terrified and quickly contacted the counselor, who yelled at us over the phone, "Do you have any common sense? It's so late. Why aren't you calling an ambulance instead of calling me? What can I do, especially since I'm a man and can't even enter the girls' dormitory? Hurry up and call an ambulance, get her dressed properly." We hung up the phone and hurriedly carried Wang Hui out of the bathroom, dressed her, and laid her flat on the ground. Before long, a pool of blood had accumulated beneath Wang Hui. Zhang Wenqin, who was afraid of blood, nearly fainted. We hurriedly helped her back to bed. After finishing, everyone quietly waited for the ambulance. The atmosphere in the dorm was oppressively low. Soon, the sound of the ambulance grew closer. I quickly went over to open the dormitory door. The moment I pulled the door open, I was stunned. The doorway was crowded with people, students from various dorm rooms, all craning their necks to peer inside. After seeing the scene on the floor, they all gasped in shock. A series of hurried footsteps approached, arriving at the dormitory door. "Who called the ambulance? What happened?" Two doctors in white coats asked anxiously. I stepped aside to make way. The doctors were also stunned, pausing for a moment before quickly entering the dormitory and beginning to move the unconscious Wang Hui onto the stretcher. We left one person to take care of Zhang Wenqin, while the remaining three of us followed the ambulance to the hospital. After a series of examinations, it was confirmed that Wang Hui had an ectopic pregnancy for 2 months, and the gestational sac ruptured tonight, leading to massive bleeding. The school quickly notified Wang Hui's parents, who transferred 20,000 yuan to her account, demanding that surgery be performed as soon as possible to save her life. And so, the teacher and we watched as doctors and nurses came and went from the operating room all night, and Wang Hui finally pulled through. The lead surgeon exited the operating room, and we all crowded around. "Doctor, the girl inside is my student. How is she now?" the counselor asked anxiously. "She has already been out of danger. After transfusing 1,200 milliliters of blood, she was finally saved. But one of her fallopian tubes could not be preserved. Fortunately, she was brought in promptly, otherwise, her life would have been at risk." The doctor removed his mask and earnestly instructed, "For the next 24 hours, she must not be left alone. Your school should arrange how to handle this and cooperate with our work." After saying this, the doctor quickly left. "For the next couple of days, it will depend on you. Since you are in the same dormitory, it will be convenient for you to take care of her. After this incident is over, each of you will receive an additional 5 points." As she spoke, the counselor turned to explain to the other 2 teachers that she needed to leave the hospital and return to school. I felt it was necessary to tell the teacher about what had happened earlier, otherwise, it might leave hidden dangers for myself. So I immediately caught up with the counselor and the others, explaining how Wang Hui had tricked me into going to the foot massage parlor, and how she and that sister Lu had worked together to knock me unconscious. I also embellished the process of my escape a bit. Of course, I couldn't tell them that I had sent Wang Hui to the bed of a client. I also truthfully told them that Wang Hui didn't have a boyfriend, but that she had come back late that night. The counselor and the other 2 teachers were greatly shocked upon hearing this and asked me to return to school with them to explain the situation to the school leadership. They believed that Wang Hui's parents would definitely come to the school to demand an explanation. If that were the case, they felt it necessary to call the police and let them handle the matter. As expected, after I recounted the situation to the principal, the dean, and other school leaders in front of the counselor, the school leaders decided to call the police. While Wang Hui was still unconscious, the entire foot massage parlor was raided. Out of our dorm, only Zhang Wenqin, who was afraid of blood, didn't take a shift. The remaining 4 of us took turns, tirelessly caring for Wang Hui for 2 days. Finally, her parents arrived. However, her parents didn't look pleased when they saw us. Seeing this, the 4 of us didn't stay any longer and promptly returned to school to report back to the counselor. After we finally got some rest, the 5 of us slept heavily in the dormitory for 2 days. 2 weeks quickly passed by. Because of Wang Hui, our dormitory became the talk of the town for others. Many nosy classmates came to ask us about Wang Hui. The school had us all in the dormitory sign a confidentiality agreement, so we wouldn't say anything. During the time Wang Hui was in a coma, there was only one large deposit into my bank account, the 20,000 yuan for Wang Hui's hospitalization fee, including the money Wang Hui had spent earlier. My account now has over 43,580 yuan, which is ill-gotten gains for me. I decided not to touch it for now. If there are any changes later, I will hand over the money. Soon after Wang Hui was discharged from the hospital, she came to the school with her parents to cause a scene. They demanded that the school compensate her for her losses of 200,000 yuan and have me expelled. Because Wang Hui was afraid of being beaten by her parents, she shifted all the blame onto me. That afternoon after class, I walked to the cafeteria with the other girls from the dorm, chatting and laughing along the way. Suddenly, a large hand grabbed my clothes and yanked me, causing me to stumble. I turned around and met Wang Hui's resentful gaze. It's her who tricked me into going to the foot massage parlor, otherwise I wouldn't have gotten into this mess. Wang Hui pointed at me. Hearing this, the classmates around immediately scattered and formed a circle around us, watching the scene unfold. Wang Hui's dad wouldn't let go of me. So it's you little bitch. How could you be so evil? You almost killed my Hui. I didn't. How did I harm her? It was her who harmed me, I explained loudly. Smack, my face was viciously slapped by Wang Hui's mother, the force so strong that my ears rang. How dare you argue? If we hadn't come, we wouldn't have known that our Hui has been bullied by you in the dorm all this time. You even dared to trick her into working at a foot massage parlor. Are you the top girl there, so familiar with the place? Your heart must have been eaten by a dog to do such a thing. Hearing her mother's words, I was instantly furious. Watch your mouth. Who exactly is the top girl? The top girl in your mouth is your beloved daughter. She's the one who tricked me into going to the foot massage parlor, trying to sell me off, but luckily, heaven helped me, and I escaped. Instead, you come here to blame me. Wang Hui's parents hesitated for a moment when they heard my words, then turned to look at Wang Hui. Mom and Dad, don't believe her. It's her fault I'm like this. If it weren't for her, how would I have ended up like this? You little bitch, let me tell you, today you either pay us 20,000 yuan, or we'll send you to the police station, throw you in jail, and see how you'll go to school. Wang Hui's mother said viciously to me, spitting at me after she finished speaking. Come on, let's go to the police station. Let's see if the police arrest me or arrest your Wang Hui. Hearing my words, they realized there might be falsehood in Wang Hui's statement, so they stopped insisting on calling the police and instead demanded that I compensate them. The area was surrounded by passing students, packed in layers both inside and out. Knowing I was temporarily safe, I took out my phone to call my academic advisor. Unexpectedly, Wang Hui snatched my phone away, looking smug as she said, "Pay up quickly, or we'll post online about how you tricked me into going to the foot massage place, and let everyone judge you." Seeing this, I immediately told Jingyu behind me, "Quickly call the counselor for me, or even call the police." Hearing my words, Wang Hui's father rushed over to grab Jingyu's phone, but to his surprise, Jingyu was quick-witted and fast-handed. While dialing the phone, she pushed through the crowd and ran towards the teaching building. Seeing the situation turn bad, Wang Hui's mother called her father over and tried to pull me away. How could I leave the crowd? I started throwing my bag at them, and it was knocked away. Then I used my nails to scratch Wang Hui's father's face. as they were about to push through the crowd and take me away, a classmate standing nearby shouted, "Why are you taking our school student away, in broad daylight? Where are you taking her, exactly? If she's broken the law, the police will take her away. It's not up to you to run wild in the school, release our classmate." As they spoke, everyone automatically linked arms, forming a tight circle. Seeing everyone protecting me, my eyes reddened, and tears almost fell. I tell myself now is not the time to cry. Suddenly, Zheng Yu's voice came from outside the circle. "Teacher, it's them. They're trying to take Li Qiao away." The counselor pushed through the crowd, grabbed Wang Hui's father's hand, and twisted it. "Let go. This school isn't a place for your family to act as judge." The counselor looked at me with concern, and seeing that I was fine, continued, "So you couldn't get money from the school and decided to harass a student instead? We didn't speak up earlier because we wanted to spare your family some dignity. Wang Hui, aren't you clear about what you've done yourself? How dare you frame your classmates? Alright, since you're not giving up, let the police tell you what Wang Hui has really done." The counselor stood in front of me, rallying the classmates. "Everyone has done a great job today. Let's keep the encirclement intact and wait for the police." "I've already called the police." Voices of agreement rose from the crowd. "Good, we absolutely can't let them get away." In no time, the police arrived and took Wang Hui and her family into the police car. Wang Hui sat in the police car, her eyes staring at me through the glass like a demon from hell. I no longer looked at her, and the crowd slowly dispersed back in the dorm. Under my roommate's coercion, I told them about the Footbath City incident. Only then did they realize how terrifying Wang Hui was. Later, the news that reached the school was that Wang Hui had been expelled for conspiring with criminals and harming her classmates, and was later taken back to her hometown by her mother. The school also issued a relevant notice. The Public Security Bureau also issued a bulletin, making the crimes of the foot massage parlor public. Not long after, Wang Hui's fellow villager told us that after returning home with her parents, Wang Hui couldn't come to terms with what had happened and committed suicide. Suddenly, an electronic voice sounded in my ear. "Hello, host, I am Transfer System No. 26. I can help you transfer other people's money to your own card. Achieving effortless wealth. Would you like to bind with me? What other options are there?" There is also the second option, not to bind. I choose the third option. "What?" The host. "You can't make this choice. The system is being destroyed." Host. As the voice grew weaker, I knew it would never have the chance to harm anyone again. After hearing the first story above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Next, there is another similar story. Let's continue to see. I am Luo Wenzhou's White Moonlight, the girlfriend he pursued with every possible means, but on the wedding night of his childhood sweetheart Lin Qian, he drowned his sorrows in alcohol for her. He told me he regretted it, and then he lost control, jumped from the car, and died. His parents sent me to prison. I was tortured to death. They still wouldn't give up. My parents died in a car accident. My brother's legs were broken by thugs. My sister-in-law perished in the flames, carrying 2 lives within her. Back on the night Luo Wenzhou jumped from the car, I wept tears of joy. "Brother, I'm sorry." Floating in the air, I watched my brother crawl on the ground begging, my heart aching beyond words. At that moment, an ear-piercing ringtone from a cell phone rang out beside me. My vision went dark. When I opened my eyes again, what met them was the familiar ceiling above. I've been reborn." The phone by the bedside kept ringing, the name flashing on the screen. Chen, Luo Wenzhou's childhood friend. I picked up the phone, remembering that it was this very call that led to the ruin of my family. His fingers clenched tightly around the phone before he fiercely hurled it to the ground. I suddenly burst into uncontrollable laughter, yet tears streamed down my cheeks. Today is the day Luo Wenzhou and his childhood sweetheart, Lin Qian, are getting married. Just this morning, he had promised me that my wedding would surely be grander than hers, but he got drunk late at night. His childhood friend Chen called me to pick him up. In my previous life, I didn't even change out of my pajamas and drove anxiously to get him. In the car, reeking of alcohol, he cried, "Qian, I regret it." I comforted him, suppressing the pain in my heart, yet he trampled my heart to pieces, time and again. "Qian, it has always been you whom I love. Qian, please don't marry him." "All right." Finally, exhausted in heart and spirit, I said to him, "Then get out of the car and go fight for her." He actually opened the door and jumped out, and was hit and killed by an oncoming truck. The Luo family, with their power and influence, sent both me and the truck driver to prison. Inside, I received special treatment, and in the end, I suffered countless humiliations and died. yet his parents still refused to let go. Luo Wonjo jumped into the river but was rescued by someone. Why didn't he die? Early in the morning, I was jolted awake by Chen Chen's frantic banging on the door, still in my pajamas. I was dragged and pulled by him all the way to the hospital. He said that Luo Wonjo was going through a life-or-death crisis and only I could comfort him. As I walked to the door of the hospital room, Luo Wonjo's mother's voice came from inside. Now you know regret, now you're going through a life-or-death crisis. Qianqian liked you so much back then, but we had to force you to get engaged to her. You were the one who said, I already have someone I like. I only see Qianqian as a little sister. I just don't understand. Where does Qianqian fall short compared to Su Nanxiao? Family background, looks, education, mom. Please stop talking, I'm going to say it. I turned around and tried to leave, but Chen Chen suddenly shoved me from behind into the hospital room. Stumbling, I crashed into the line of sight of everyone in the room. Luo's mother looked me up and down, and seeing that I was still in my pajamas, she immediately said sarcastically, "Oh, you finally decided to show up. My son treasures you like the apple of his eye. Yet you couldn't even be reached by phone last night. He nearly drowned himself for you. I haven't even settled the score with you yet." I looked at Ms. Luo's well-maintained yet sharp and disdainful face. Memories of bloodshed and enmity from my past life flooded my mind in an instant. How she used her power to orchestrate the accidental car crash that killed my parents, how she bribed thugs to break my brother's legs, and how a fire she set claimed the lives of my pregnant sister-in-law and her unborn child. My nails dug deep into my palms, the sharp pain serving as a reminder to stay calm. I looked directly into her eyes and sneered, "Auntie, you really think too highly of me." I turned my head, letting my icy gaze fall on the pale face of Luo Wonjo lying on the hospital bed, not a trace of affection left in my eyes. "Luo Wonjo, you clearly got drunk and jumped into the river for Lin Qian. Why drag me into this act of undying devotion? If you really can't let go of Lin Qian, then fine." My voice was cold and resolute. "Let's break up, you're free. Go get Lin Qian back now." With that, I turned and walked away without a shred of regret. From behind me came the urgent shouts of Luo Wonjo and the frantic screams of his mother. I knew I wasn't capable of seeking revenge yet. The consequences were something I couldn't bear, but it didn't matter. I refused to believe that the Luo family had no weaknesses. Leaving the hospital, I immediately blocked and deleted all of Luo Wonjo's contact information. I booked the earliest flight back to Jiangqing. As the plane landed and I stepped onto the soil of my hometown, my heart was filled with an overwhelming bitterness. In my past life, after I died, my parents wanted to bury me with dignity, but the Luo family had my body reduced to ashes. Pushing open the door to the house, only my sister-in-law was home. She was wearing an apron, a spatula still in her hand. Seeing me, she froze for a moment. Then a gentle smile spread across her face. "Qiao Qiao, what brings you back so suddenly? Come in quickly." Seeing my vivid and gentle sister-in-law in front of me, while thinking of her tragic fate in my past life, an overwhelming fear and the relief of getting her back again instantly seized me. I couldn't utter a single word. I threw myself into her arms, tears gushing out like a dam had burst. I was afraid that being reborn was just a dream, and that when I opened my eyes, I would still be a soul wandering around. I cried until I couldn't control myself, and in the end, I fell into an exhausted sleep under the gentle comfort of my sister-in-law. When I woke up again, it was already evening, and both my parents and brother had returned. Mom sat by the bed, wiping my face with a pained heart. "Silly child, what made you so upset? It's good that you came home. Your parents can still support you." Dad didn't ask further. He simply peeled an apple and handed it to me in silence. "Have an apple first." My brother leaned against the doorframe, his eyes filled with concern. "Did that kid Luo Wonjo bully you?" Looking at them, my heart was flooded with a bittersweet warmth. "They're alive, great." I sat up, hugged my mom, then hugged my dad, smiling as I said, "No, it's just that I missed you," and I took the apple from my dad's hand. It had been a long time since I'd eaten an apple he'd peeled for me. "Luo Wonjo and I have already broken up." The room fell silent for a moment. My mom was first shocked. Then she let out a sigh of relief and gently pulled me into her embrace. "It's for the best. Their family's threshold is too high. If you ever suffered any grievances at his place, your dad and I would have a hard time standing up for you." The next day, my brother drove me to the airport. When we arrived at the airport, he took my luggage, ruffled my hair, and spoke with an earnestness I had never heard from him before. "Jojo, remember, no matter what happens, home will always be your safe haven. If you ever feel wronged, don't bottle it up, even if I don't have as Much money as the Luo family, I can support you for a lifetime without any issue. Looking at my brother's gentle, youthful face, and then thinking of his broken leg from my past life as he crawled through the mud begging, my eyes instantly welled up with tears. My brother is heaven's chosen one. At the age of 20, he founded his own gaming company fueled by passion and talent, with a future full of promise. However, the Luo family paid a hefty sum to bribe his close friend, who took so-called evidence and twisted the truth online, falsely accusing his older brother of plagiarizing all of his works. His brother faced online harassment, the company went bankrupt, and his reputation was utterly destroyed. Even so, he did not collapse under the pressure. Dragging his exhausted body, he searched everywhere for a new job, determined to start over. Yet the Luo family wouldn't even grant him that bit of hope. They bribed thugs to break both his legs in the cruelest manner, completely pushing him into the abyss. I abruptly turned around, my back facing my brother, and vigorously waved my hand, afraid he might see the hatred staining my eyes red. Luo family, you truly deserve to die. Downstairs at the rental apartment, I saw the person I least wanted to see, Luo Wenzhou. What a stroke of bad luck. Without even bothering to lift my eyelids, I walked straight past him, yet he seized my hand tightly. Ciao ciao. What you said at the hospital that day was just out of anger, wasn't it? Why did you block all my contact information? I looked into his sorrowful eyes and could only find it laughable. Still playing the devoted lover now, I forcefully shook off his hand and said coldly, every word I said that day was sincere. I don't believe it. He rushed forward again, grabbing my hand. We loved each other so much. For you, I defied my family time and again, gave up my childhood friend Lin Qian, and finally made my parents agree. You said meeting me was the greatest luck of your life. How could you be so heartless, Luo Wenzhou? Search your heart. I stared at him, jabbing my finger fiercely against his chest. Did you ever truly love me? If you truly loved me, why did you drown your sorrows and throw yourself into the river when Lin Qian got married? Didn't I make myself clear enough in the hospital? What are you here for now? I stepped closer to him, my eyes filled with contempt. When Lin Qian was in love with him, he looked down on her. Now that Lin Qian has married someone else, he regrets it. Isn't he ridiculous? What, am I a garbage dump? He panicked immediately, stumbling over his words as he explained. No, Jojo, listen to me. I just couldn't accept that she got married so suddenly. After all, we grew up together, spent over a decade side by side, inseparable. Do you even believe that yourself? I cut off his disgusting speech, turned around, swiped my card to enter, and never looked back. Jojo, after our last parting, the next time I saw Luo Wenzhou was at a university class reunion. I was the last one to arrive. The private room was filled with noise, and the only empty seat stood out conspicuously beside Luo Wenzhou's left hand. Everyone still seemed unaware of our breakup, warmly inviting me to hurry over and take a seat. I chuckled, without looking in that direction, and directly called over the server, could you please bring one more chair? Then, I naturally sat beside Lin Qian. The atmosphere instantly froze, all eyes swept back and forth between me and Luo Wenzhou, whose face had suddenly turned gloomy. Finally, they belatedly realized something. Lin Qian leaned close to me and whispered, you two broke up. I nodded gently. Her face was etched with disbelief, with a fleeting glimmer of joy flashing in her eyes. Was once the aloof white moonlight in Luo Wenzhou's life, the girlfriend he pursued relentlessly and by every means. Our beginning was like a scene from a romantic idol drama. The first time we met was at my flower shop. My older brother opened it for me when I was in college. That day, he came to buy a birthday bouquet for Lin Qian. After that, he became a regular customer. I sensed that he might have feelings for me, but I was also soberly aware that the interest of a wealthy young man is often just a passing fancy. But he actually pulled off a grand confession that shocked the entire school. I rejected him. What followed was his intense pursuit that lasted for months. Flowers, watches, designer bags, necklaces, every gift was returned untouched. What truly moved me was catching a glimpse of him gently and patiently feeding stray cats, his eyes completely free of pretense. He stood up for what was right, stepping forward to help a girl being harassed. He naturally bent down to help an elderly scavenger pick up scattered bottles and cans. On the 99th confession, I said yes. After we got together, he truly respected me, treating me as an equal, without the usual playfulness or arrogance of a rich second generation. I once thought I was fortunate. If Lin Qian had not suddenly gotten married, if he had not gotten drunk and jumped from the car, if there had been no blood debt from the destruction of his family in his past life. Regrettably, there are no what-ifs. His willful act of seeking death cost me my family's destruction. Therefore, in this life, there is only one relationship between us, an endless feud sworn to the death. Coming out of the bathroom, Luo Wenzhou was indeed blocking the hallway. A cigarette was tucked between his fingers. Upon seeing me, he immediately extinguished it. I lowered my gaze, realizing that he had always remembered. Once, I couldn't stand even the faintest smell of smoke, so he quit for me. He even warned his friends over and over before every gathering, forbidding anyone to smoke in front of me. Looking back, the good times from the past now just feel absurd. Ciao ciao, he said with a tired expression and a hoarse voice. I've thought it over carefully since I went back, and I love you. Lin Qian liked me for so long, and then suddenly she got married. He seemed unable to bring himself to finish his sentence, hanging his head. It was just my male pride acting up. That's why I drank too much. Drunk, I don't even know why I was so impulsive and jumped into the river. He raised his head and stared at me. That wasn't my real intention. Ciao ciao. I calmly listened to him finish speaking, then raised my hand, revealing the ring on my ring finger of my right hand. Luo Wenzhou, I am already married. Please stop pestering me. His pupils contracted sharply as he abruptly grabbed my hand, desperately trying to tear off that ring. You're lying to me, aren't you? How could you possibly marry someone else? I don't believe it. The bodyguard stationed nearby immediately stepped forward, deftly pushing him aside. I straightened my sleeves, caught sight of Lin Qian peeking from around the corner, and said to her, I've already paid for the gathering. Would you mind looking after everyone? I'll be leaving now. Ignoring the almost frantic cries from behind as Luo Wenzhou shouted, Ciao ciao, come back, tell me this isn't true. Without turning my head, I walked away. Sitting in the speeding car, I lowered my head and gazed distractedly at the ring on my ring finger. A week ago, after confronting Luo Wenzhou downstairs at the rental apartment and laying all my cards on the table, an overwhelming sense of anxiety had been gnawing at me day and night. I was keenly aware that if I didn't quickly bring down the Luo family, the hatred in my heart would never subside. The gruesome scene of my parents' tragic death in my previous life, the despair of my sister-in-law perishing in the fire, and the image of my brother crawling and begging on the streets, night after night, they haunt my dreams, offering not a moment's peace. So I frantically searched the memories of my past life, seeking any force that could stand against the Luo family. Suddenly, a name jumped out at me. The Zhu family, the truly prestigious century-old families, possess depths of heritage that are unfathomable. I recall that Zhu Yunxian, the beloved youngest son of Patriarch Zhu, recently suffered a severe car accident that left him in a vegetative state. That patriarch is extremely superstitious. After futilely seeking help from renowned doctors, he turned to the abbot of Lingyin Temple for assistance. This incident even trended on social media at the time. The abbot foretold that Zhu Yunxuan's destined benefactor would be born in Yunluo village, Renwu, Yixi, Guihai, Jiayin. The Zhu family indeed followed the clues and found my rural hometown, eventually tracking down my parents. They never explicitly mentioned wedding to ward off misfortune, but their intentions were as clear as day: find a girl whose birth chart aligns with the Ba Zi, to accompany a comatose patient who may never wake up. My parents are honest and simple, but they are not foolish. They immediately understood the Zhu family's hidden intentions. How could they possibly agree? In their eyes, this was nothing less than pushing me into a fire pit with no end in sight, to serve as a living widow for a wealthy family for a lifetime. Out of their deep affection for their daughter and their clear awareness of the impossibility of challenging a behemoth like the Zhu family, they feared that even the slightest hesitation would turn me into a fortune bride, meant to ward off misfortune. Thus, they resorted to the most resolute course of action: slammed the door right in their faces in the future, cutting off the Zhu family's hopes for good. This matter, I only came to know of it when my spirit, wandering aimlessly after death, drifted to the Zhu residence by chance, and overheard the servants discussing it at Zhu Yunxuan's funeral. In this life, the Zhu family is my one and best chance to destroy the Luo family. I must seize it. I packed my bags as quickly as possible and headed back to Jiangqing, calculating the time. The people from the Zhu family will come looking for me within these few days. I pushed open the door, and everyone's gaze in the room instantly focused on me. The atmosphere was so heavy it was suffocating. I suppressed my racing heart and feigned confusion. Dad, Mom, do we have a guest? On the sofa sat a graceful woman wearing a qipao. Behind her stood several stern-faced bodyguards and an elegant old butler. Mother's face turned pale, and she immediately stood up, trying to pull me inside. Ciao ciao, go back to your room first. Wait, the beautiful woman's gentle yet unquestionable voice sounded. "I think the person involved has the right to know about this," my father said with a stern face and in a decisive tone. "She's still young, we have every right to make decisions about her marriage." The elegant lady chuckled softly, looking at me gently. "Mr. Su, young women nowadays have far more independent ideas than we did back in our day, especially when it comes to lifelong matters like marriage." I immediately let go of Mom's hand and hurried over to sit down next to Dad. "If we're talking about my marriage, then I have to know." The beautiful woman's smile grew more sincere. "All right, then I'll speak plainly. You can call me Auntie Zhu. My younger brother Yunxian was recently in a car accident and remains unconscious to this day. My father dotes on him dearly and wishes to find a wife to care for him attentively. After all, no matter how professional nurses or caretakers may be, they can't compare to the thoughtfulness of a wife." I feigned confusion and asked directly, "Why choose me? I won't hide anything from you." Auntie Zhu's tone was genuinely frank. "My father deeply believes in such things. The abbot of Lingyin Temple read Yunxuan's fate and said his benefactor's birth time and place perfectly match yours. We searched far and wide before finding our way here." After a moment of contemplation, I asked the most crucial question: "If he wakes up and doesn't like me, can I get a divorce?" "Of course," Aunt Zhu replied promptly. "Our Zhu family is reasonable and would never force anyone to do anything. In that case, we'd give you ample compensation and ensure you leave with dignity." "All right," I nodded. "I'm willing to marry him." "Chow chow, what are you saying?" My parents instantly panicked. My mother tried to cover my mouth. "Children's words don't count." Aunt Zhu ignored my parents' words, her gaze sternly fixed on me. As she confirmed again, "Su Nanxiao, think carefully. If my brother never wakes up, you may have to stay by his side for a lifetime. If he, unfortunately, passes away early, according to old customs, as his widow, you will not be allowed to remarry. This is no trivial matter." I gently pushed my mother's hand aside, turned to look at my parents, and gave them an unwavering gaze. "Dad, Mom, I know what I'm doing. I'm not a child anymore." They would never know that the daughter sitting before them now had a soul that had clawed its way back from hell. In my past life, my parents exhausted their family fortune to hire the best lawyers money could buy. In the face of power, all defenses become feeble and powerless. I was still convicted of negligent homicide, along with other charges, and sentenced to life imprisonment. I will never forget the day of the verdict. My parents' hair turned gray overnight, and their backs hunched in sorrow. They refused to give up, running everywhere to appeal on my behalf, fighting only to seek justice for me. Yet the Luo family never intended to let my parents off. In the end, they died in that so-called accidental car crash. I know it was no accident. It was the Luo family's retaliation against me. In this life, my parents are still alive and well. I will never allow the tragedy of my past life to repeat itself. Even if I must plunge into the abyss and sacrifice my life, I will drag the entire Luo family down with me. Otherwise, the tragedy that befell my family will only come full circle once more, because I know Luo Wenzhou will surely come back to torment me again." My parents, seeing the resolute gleam in my eyes, instantly collapsed in defeat. Aunt Zhu finally asked, "What is your condition?" I stepped forward, leaned close to her ear, and spoke in a voice only the two of us could hear, enunciating each word clearly. "My condition is that I want the Luo family to vanish completely from Su City." Aunt Zhu's pupils contracted slightly as she looked at me with a meaningful glance. "A grudge?" "Yes." My voice was icy cold. She barely hesitated, standing up. "All right, any other demands?" "No." She nodded slightly and left neatly and efficiently with her people, leaving our family and a room full of silence. "Young madam, we've arrived." The bodyguard opened the car door for me, his low voice pulling me back from my memories, gathering my thoughts. I got out of the car and headed straight for the quiet detached villa on the east side of the estate. The first time I met Zhu Yunxian, even though he was in a deep slumber, I was still overwhelmed by his stunning appearance, peerless and flawless as jade, a gentleman unparalleled in this world. My marriage to him wasn't publicly announced, but our marriage certificate was genuine and legally binding. The betrothal gifts sent by the Zhu family came with a list that stretched over a foot long when unfolded, and their value was even more astonishing. My parents held the gold-embossed gift list in their hands, trembling so much they hardly dared to accept it. A week has passed since I married into the Zhu family, yet everything still often leaves me dazed and disbelieving. The Luo family, who once crushed my family, drove us to ruin, and left us unable to breathe, now seems as insignificant as an ant that could be casually crushed beneath the colossal ship of the Zhu family. Zhu Yiji, the eldest brother of the Zhu family, a man with an overwhelming presence and decisive actions, once asked me directly, "The Luo family, how would you like them to die, a quick, clean death, or a slow, painful torment?" I froze for a moment before quickly snapping back to reality, a chilling sense of hatred seeping deep into my bones. A dull blade must be sharpened slowly. I will make them lose what they hold most dear, piece by piece, let them slowly rot in fear and despair, experiencing a fraction of the pain I endured in my past life. Zhu Yizhi merely gave a slight nod. As if this were nothing more than a trivial matter, he only told me, "Take good care of Yunxian, don't worry about the Luo family, I will give you a satisfactory resolution." I gave Zhu Yunxian a full-body massage daily, and before I could even finish, I was already covered in a fine layer of sweat from the exertion. After washing up, I sat as usual on the recliner beside his bed, reading a book to him. His bedroom connected to a massive study, though I entered it every day. I was still astonished by the wall full of trophies and certificates, silent testimonies to his remarkable past. Zhu Yunxian graduated from university at 16, even as a sophomore. His extraordinary intellect had earned him a place at the National Research Institute. Truly, a child of fortune. Tired from reading, I put down the book and looked at his quiet, perfect profile. As if compelled by some unseen force, I leaned down and pressed a light kiss on his cool lips. After the act, I paused for a moment, then couldn't help but laugh softly at myself. Such an outstanding man, bright as the moon, had now become my husband. If not now to steal a kiss, then when? I'm afraid that if I wake up in the future, I won't have this chance again. I inquired beforehand and found that he had no close female companions by his side. I also observed carefully, and there is no trace of any woman's presence in his study. Otherwise, I would never have carried out such a fragrance theft. My gaze inadvertently swept over the delicate collarbone beneath his pajamas. My cheeks suddenly flushed with heat as I couldn't help but recall the embarrassment of wiping him down for the first time, and at the unexpectedly glimpsed, magnificent sight that starkly contrasted with his refined and handsome face. Once, his body even reacted instinctively, and it was me, with trembling hands and a flushed face, who helped him ease the tension. This matter, I regard it as top secret and have never mentioned it to anyone. I took care of him with all my heart and effort, but I didn't know whether he would ever wake up in this lifetime. Yet from the bottom of my heart, I truly wished for his awakening. A person so outstanding should not fade away so dimly. He ought to continue shining, to live out the magnificent life that remains unfulfilled. Every morning, I would place a fresh bouquet of flowers in Zhu Yunxuan's bedroom, then sit by the bed and chatter away about trivial matters. That day, Zhu Yunxuan's eldest brother, Zhu Yizhi, came to visit him. Standing by the bed, he told me in a calm tone, "The Zhu family has already spread the word that the Luo family has offended us." He paused for a moment, as if mentioning a trivial matter. "Now, the Luo family's business partners have one after another terminated their cooperation, banks are recalling loans, and their stock prices have plummeted, teetering on the edge of hitting the lower limit. Old Mr. Luo is so anxious that his hair has reportedly turned half gray." After recounting the recent situation of the Luo family, he glanced at Zhu Yunxian, who was still asleep, and prepared to leave. "Eldest brother," I called out to him almost instinctively. Zhu Yizhi stopped in his tracks, turning around with a questioning look in his eyes. My heart raced a little, my palms slightly damp with sweat. After much hesitation, I finally spoke up. "Eldest brother, are you currently preparing to bid for the land in the western part of the city, competing against the Wang family?" Zhu Yizhi's eyes suddenly sharpened. Without answering, he just looked at me in silence, waiting for me to continue. I took a deep breath and spoke with the utmost gravity. "You absolutely must not bid on that piece of land, no matter how promising it appears or how tempting the inside information is. Do not touch it." In the previous life, both the Zhu and Wang families had received inside information that the country planned to build a high-speed rail station in the western part of the city. The two families fought tooth and nail for the opportunity, and in the end, the Zhu family secured the bid at an extremely high cost. As a result, the nation's ultimate plan was set in the southern part of the city. Because of this, the Zhu family faced a severe funding crisis and suffered enormous losses, while the Wang family seized the opportunity to rise and quickly surpass the Zhu family. I will never allow the Zhu family to repeat the same mistakes and fall to second place in Sioux City. My plan for revenge must not encounter any mishaps. Zhu Yizhi's deep gaze lingered on my face for a long while, as if trying to discern the truth and intention behind my words. In the end, he said nothing, only giving a slight nod before turning and leaving. My heart was in turmoil, unsure whether he had believed me or simply dismissed it as nonsense. If he didn't believe it, I must quickly find another way. Just as I was racking my brain over how to persuade Ziyizi, the steward respectfully approached and informed me, "Young madam, the Wang family has won the bid for the land in the western part of the city." He then added, "The young master asked me to relay to you, we hope your judgment will not disappoint the Zhu family." After the steward left, I was practically jumping for joy. An immense surge of joy and overwhelming relief washed over me. I hurried to Zhu Yunxuan's bedside and planted a firm kiss on his lips. "Did you hear that? It's wonderful. We've avoided that piece of land." Yet I failed to notice that Zhu Yunxuan's finger had twitched. That day, messages in my university class group chat suddenly exploded. With countless notifications tagging me, I tapped to look, and the core message was just one thing: Luo Wenzhou and Lin Qian are together. I chuckled softly, exactly as expected. Recalling the last class reunion, Lin Qian couldn't hide the glee in her eyes, no matter how hard she tried. When she heard that Luo Wenzhou and I had broken up, I scrolled up through the chat history, piecing together the whole story. Turns out, the night Lin Qian found out about our breakup, she went home and insisted on divorcing her husband from their arranged marriage. But how could the Lin family possibly allow her to ruin such an important business union? As a result, Lin Qian took an unorthodox approach and drugged Luo Wenzhou directly. The two were accidentally discovered together, caught in the act. Using this incident, Lin Qian successfully obtained a divorce, but Luo Wenzhou felt disgusted. He even scolded Lin Qian, calling her shameless and disgraceful, declaring that she deserved her fate and that he would never marry her. However, an even more dramatic twist followed. Lin Qian was pregnant. At this critical moment, the Luo family, with their backs against the wall and in desperate need of funds, how could they possibly let go of the Lin family, their lifeline? Thus, Luo Wenzhou was forced to marry Lin Qian. I received that gold-embossed wedding invitation for Luo Wenzhou and Lin Qian. I decided to give them a wedding gift they would never forget for the rest of their lives. On the wedding day, I deliberately wore a bright red cheongsam, its fiery color celebrating the commencement of my revenge. Indeed, as soon as I appeared, Luo Wenzhou's gaze repeatedly fell upon me. Even the priest stumbled over the words while reciting the vows, creating an awkward moment. Beside him, Lin Qian, clad in her pure white wedding dress, looked at me with eyes laced with venom, as if wishing she could devour me whole. I smiled at her. When Luo Wenzhou first pursued me, wasn't it her who caused me trouble both openly and behind the scenes? Even now, Luo Wenzhou's friends still hold prejudice against me, much of which can be credited to the rumors she spread far and wide. What was even more malicious was that during university, she spread rumors about me being kept by a wealthy businessman. If it weren't for my stubborn nature, threatening suicide to pressure the school into thoroughly investigating and clearing my name, I might have long been drowned in gossip and forced to drop out due to depression. The wedding ceremony proceeded step by step, and when it came time to play the video of the couple meeting and falling in love, the huge screen lit up. Yet what appeared was not a sweet scene, but a secretly recorded video of Mr. Luo entering and exiting private residences with various young women, even appearing as harmonious as a family. Immediately after, the scene switched, showing Mrs. Luo intimately engaging with young male university students she kept at a high-end club. The room below fell into a deathly silence, then erupted with uncontrollable gasps and hushed whispers. Luo Wenzhou's face turned deathly pale, his fists clenched so tightly that his knuckles turned white. The moment the footage appeared, Mr. and Mrs. Luo's expressions twisted in horror. They panicked and shouted frantically at the staff, "Turn it off, hurry up and turn it off." I sat upright among the guests, gently swirling the champagne glass in my hand, watching the family's disgraceful state from afar. Coldly, I thought to myself, "Luo Wenzhou, how do you and your family like this wedding gift?" Don't worry, this, just the beginning of recovering a bit of interest. When I returned to the Zhu family estate, I found everyone gathered outside Zhu Yunxuan's room, the atmosphere heavy and tinged with an unusual tension. My heart sank, and I quickly pushed through the crowd to rush inside. As it turned out, I saw Zhu Yunxian leaning against the headboard. Though his face was pale, his eyes, clear and bright, were looking around with a hint of confusion that comes with just waking up. The Zhu family members gathered around the bed, each of them shedding tears of joy. Elder Zhu tightly held his hand, tears streaming down his aged face, repeatedly murmuring, "It's good that you're awake, it's good that you're awake." Seeing this heartwarming scene, I instinctively slowed my steps, planning to quietly retreat and leave the space for their family. Just as I was about to step out of the room, a hoarse yet clear voice rang out, "Wife, where are you going?" I froze on the spot. Instantly, the gazes from everyone in the entire room converged upon me, carrying a mix of astonishment and suggestive scrutiny. Embarrassed, I turned around, my hands and feet feeling awkwardly out of place. Seeing this, the patriarch of the Zhu family immediately wiped away his tears and, suppressing a laugh, spoke up, all right, everyone out. Let Yun Xian and Nanxiao, the lovebirds, have a good chat." On their own, the crowd filed out with good-natured laughter and whispers, thoughtfully closing the door behind them. Suddenly, only the two of us were left in the room. I kept my head down, staring at the pattern on the carpet as if I wanted to bore a hole through it. Zhu Yunxian looked at me, resembling an ostrich burying its head in the sand, and suddenly let out a soft laugh. His voice carried a hoarseness from long disuse. "Why are you scared now that I'm awake, when I was a vegetable? Weren't you quite bold, stealing kisses, chattering away to me, even?" I was so shocked that I abruptly lifted my head. You were conscious the whole time." He shot me a small, irritated look, but there was a hint of teasing in his tone. I just couldn't move. "It's not like I was dead." "Then I can help you." My cheeks instantly burned with embarrassment, and my toes curled up awkwardly inside my shoes. I couldn't even finish my sentence. "What can you help me with?" he deliberately pressed further, his eyes glinting with mischief. "It's just that thing." I was so embarrassed I wished I could crawl into a crack in the ground. "Which one?" He seemed determined to tease me, insisting I say it out loud myself. I was pushed to the edge, and with my eyes shut tight, I shouted defiantly, "It's using my hand to help you relieve yourself. Can't you feel it too?" After shouting, my entire face flushed crimson, and I didn't dare open my eyes to look at him. The room fell silent for a few seconds. Then, I heard his voice, tinged with laughter and thoroughly infuriating. "Su Nanxiao, would you like to take a look behind you first?" In a daze, I opened my eyes and turned my head. I saw that the door had been pushed open a considerable crack at some unknown time, with the Zhu family's eldest brother leading a few family members standing dumbfounded at the entrance. It was clear they had heard my earth-shattering roar just moments ago, down to the last word. If only there were a mouse hole somewhere, I'd gladly crawl right in. Zhu Yunxuan's awakening allowed me to carry out my final revenge against the Luo family without the slightest restraint. Step 1. Shatter their hearts. I barged into the Luo family home with my bodyguards. The bodyguards roughly pinned Mr. and Mrs. Luo to the ground, forcing them to kneel before me. "Su Nanxiao, what do you think you're doing? This is trespassing." "Just you wait." Mrs. Luo's shrill curses were abruptly cut short. With just a glance from me, the bodyguard behind me swung a heavy, backhanded slap across her face, snapping her head to the side and silencing her instantly. I leaned in slightly, my gaze fixed on the pale, furious face of Mr. Luo, my tone mocking. "Mr. Luo, if you want to blame anyone, blame yourself for marrying such a fine wife. I'm not exactly a man of many virtues, but I do have a talent for holding grudges. Your wife insulted me with money back then, and I haven't forgotten it for a single moment. Now that I've turned the tables, how could I not pay her back?" As my words hung in the air, the bodyguard promptly flung a thick stack of documents in front of Mr. Luo. Inside were records of Mrs. Luo secretly transferring the last of the family's assets, preparing to flee far away with her young lover. Almost simultaneously, another set of papers was thrown at the Luo couple's feet. These contained detailed records of all Mr. Luo's illegitimate children outside their marriage, along with proof that each of those children held significant shares in the Luo family's business. Father Luo only took one glance, his eyes instantly bloodshot, veins bulging on his forehead as he suddenly slapped Mother Luo hard across the face. "You treacherous woman, stealing money to raise some other man's bastard." Mother Luo was stunned for a moment, and upon seeing the illegitimate child information in front of her, she too went mad, shrieking as she pounced forward, her nails clawing viciously at Father Luo's face. "How dare you hit me? Haven't you also been raising so many little bastards out there? What place does Wenzhou hold in your heart? How dare you have the nerve to talk about me?" Despair and rage completely consumed them. They were like two mad dogs, cursing, clawing, and biting each other without any dignity on the cold floor, tearing the last shred of each other's decency to pieces. I quietly appreciate this farce. The taste of power is truly intoxicating. Step 2. Settling scores. I stood in the shadow of the street corner, watching coldly as a few hoodlums, wielding iron rods, struck Luo Wonjo's legs again and again with ruthless force. The muffled sound of shattering bones, mingled with his piercing scream, sounded particularly delightful in the night air. This scene felt all too familiar. In my past life, I had floated in the air, watching helplessly as my brother's legs were broken in the same way. All I could do was weep in despair. Now, our roles had been reversed. I have become the one who holds the chess pieces. Luo Wonjo, like garbage, was dragged and thrown back onto the steps of the Luo family villa. Along with him, clear photographs of Lin Qian mingling intimately with various men in different settings were tossed down, scenes so explicit and indecent they were unbearable to look at. I want him to know, with brutal clarity and excruciating pain, from start to finish, he was nothing but a joke in my past life. If not for his selfish leap from the carriage in the name of so-called devotion, how could my family have suffered such a calamity, ending in complete ruin? He is the root of all tragedy. How could I possibly let him go? Breaking his leg is just the first installment of interest being collected. Complete spiritual annihilation is the best punishment for him. The third step, annihilation. The apartment where Lin Qian lived exploded one night due to a gas leak, with flames soaring into the sky, engulfing both her and the child in her womb. Just like my sister-in-law in my previous life, she was burned alive in endless pain and despair. I made a special trip to pay my respects. I saw Luo Wonjo sitting in a wheelchair, his eyes vacant and hopeless, and beside him were his parents, who seemed to have aged 20 years overnight. The profound grief on their faces made the corners of my mouth curl up uncontrollably. Su Nanxiao, what are you doing here? Get out. Did you come to laugh at our Luo family? As soon as Luo's mother saw me, she lost control of her emotions and screamed, lunging forward to drive me away. I immediately put on just the right amount of sad expression, speaking in a wrong tone. Auntie, how can you think that? Lin Qian passed away unexpectedly, and as an old classmate, I'm heartbroken too. Is it wrong for me to see her off one last time? If I'm not welcome here, then I'll leave. With that, I turned and left without hesitation. After all, the tragedy I wanted to see has already been witnessed. Luo's parents may have sensed something amiss and attempted to flee abroad. However, the vehicle they were in, due to brake failure, crashed through the guardrail at an extremely high speed, tumbling and plunging into the steep mountain ravine. The fuel tank exploded in an instant, burying them completely within the soaring flames. This scene bore a striking resemblance to that accidental car crash they had meticulously orchestrated for my parents in our previous life. Standing on the highest terrace of the Zhu family manor, I looked down upon the myriad lights of Su City. The bodyguard just reported that Luo Wonjo couldn't bear the thought of begging in the future, so he ended his brilliant yet laughable life with a shard of glass in a dirty alley of the slums. The evening breeze rustled through my long hair, bringing no wild joy, only a deep calm. Zhu Yunxian walked over to me, silently draping a shawl over my shoulders. Is it all over? His voice melted into the wind. I answered softly, my gaze still fixed on the distance, where a behemoth once known as the Luo family had now been completely erased. I used everything I could use, and paid everything I could pay. Finally, this bloody cycle that began with his death and continued with the destruction of my family has been brought to an end by my own hands. Every second of my rebirth was for this very moment of finality. This, Luo family, is the price you must pay. After sending the signed divorce agreement to Zhu Yunxian, I left without a word, completely vanishing from his world. A man like him, pure and upright, dignified and composed, is like the bright moon hanging high in the night sky, deserving of the most genuine, complete love and life. As for me, I am a vengeful ghost clawing my way out of hell, my hands stained with blood, my body burdened with sin. This vengeance has long since hollowed out my soul, leaving no trace of warmth behind. Our marriage began with deceit, and so it should end with us as strangers. This is the last thing I can do for him. Not disturbing him is the final